Versa best company.
Versa Business System.
It's a better.
Versa Business System.
Versa Business System.
Welcome to the Versa Business Tips Podcast. I'm your host, founder and CEO of Versa Business Systems, Shaheen Mazloom. We're here with Jason Kruger today, founder and CEO of Citrin Cooperman. CPA is a CPA firm, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm actually a partner at Citrin Cooperman.
Partner.
Yeah,
My mistake.
Yep. That's all right.
So Jason, thanks for joining us today, man. For those out there that don't know who you are and what Citrin Cooperman does, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you guys do over there.
Yeah, absolutely. So Citrin Cooperman's a national, probably top 15 nationally CPA firm. So
Wow.
our core service is tax,
Yeah.
personal and business tax services, audit services, and then we have those are where our core is, and then we have advisory services. So advisory would be what we were talking about before we jumped on, which is fractional accounting, fractional CFO support.
Right.
We work with a lot of companies that are going through a transaction, so merger acquisition support through
Nice.
due diligence, qualities
Yeah.
of earning, that kind of stuff. We also do valuation work, and then we have a
Okay.
digital team that helps companies transition to outside when they outgrow something like QuickBooks. We'll move them on to something like NetSuite or a better ERP system.
Right.
And we're doing some good stuff with leveraging like a Microsoft Copilot to streamline AI and that kind of stuff too. So
Very
a
cool.
little bit of everything, but
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So you brought up a couple of things that I'm definitely interested in. Like, so you mentioned moving over from something like QuickBooks. So
Mhm.
at what point is a company has a company really outgrown QuickBooks, and how can they tell if they're like they need something more?
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of it depends on the industry.
Okay, right,
If you're a services-based industry, pretty straightforward. You can be on QuickBooks for quite a while.
right,
If you need more complexity, if you're a manufacturer, and QuickBooks is they're not as strong in accounting for inventory, and so
right,
that's where you might need
yeah,
a little bit more complexity. Like a
right,
NetSuite is usually that next step, and there's
right,
a lot of additional support that NetSuite can give to clients in that space.
right,
I mean, we have some clients that are up to 100 million on QuickBooks, but
right.
usually for most businesses, once they get over 20, 30, 40 million, they should really be looking at what that next step is in their systems.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Now, um, you know, we run into a lot of businesses that, just don't know their numbers. They don't know their financials. Um, how, at what point in a business, right? When you first start a business, you're focused on, well, you should be focused on sales, right? Getting
Right.
customers, making sales, getting customers, making sales. Once you have something, now you need to get organized. At what point when starting a business is it best to start having a conversation with a company like what you guys do, a CPA, and actually start, or should that be one of their first things before
Hmm.
they maybe once they've got their first sale, then they should
Yeah.
start
Yeah.
with a CPA? What's your take on that?
Yeah. I mean, I'll always say, the sooner the better, but I also
Right.
know reality is, hey, you're flying by the seat of your pants, you're bootstrapping, you're trying to figure things out. What I see is most companies will hire kind of a lower level bookkeeper initially.
Right.
That individual might be able to get them to a certain point. Once they start getting up towards, 5 million in revenue, they used to be able to manage the business and the financials in their head. Like, hey, I know how much cash we got.
Right.
I know I'm getting paid by this customer. I know we have enough for payroll. But once you get over 5 million and to 10 and 15, you start losing control or understanding of the cash flows of the business
Yeah.
and truly what's happening. And you start also, it starts being getting more complex, where you start losing the ability to truly understand what your real profitability is, your margins are. And
Right.
so I'd say, you can live with maybe a bookkeeper up till 5 million, but beyond that, you need to start really looking at, better sophistication.
Yeah.
And, that's where we come in, is we say, hey, you don't need to get rid of your bookkeeper, but you need to layer in something to really
Yeah.
help take you to that next level. Because,
Right.
and the last thing I'll mention on that is a lot of companies then they say, okay, great, I've gotten to a point where now I'm looking to get a line of credit or bank financing or maybe bring in investors. And the first thing that a bank's going to ask or investors are going to ask is, let me see your financials, or
Yeah.
how are you going to use these funds? And so that's where, we would come in and make sure that we help them tell the right story, give them credibility, and so on.
Right. Awesome. 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 So, that's one of the things that my company does is business funding. And
Yeah.
yeah, you're absolutely right. It's crazy that, most businesses don't know if they're profitable, and if they are, how profitable they are. Right.
Hmm.
It's wild. But um, you know, what are some of the, besides not knowing is this profitable and how profitable we are, what are some other big issues are you finding out, when you guys first start diving in with businesses? What are
Hmm.
some of the small things that they could have done differently or should have done differently in the beginning that would save them
Yep.
a headache down the road?
Yeah, I kind of mentioned this a second ago, but understanding the cash flows of your business. And so what I mean by that is, I still remember this. I talked to a business owner a few years ago, and he said, "Hey, you know, come here. Look at my income statement. Look at my P&L. Look how profitable we are." He's like, "I don't have any cash. Like, where is all my cash?" Right? And I said, "Okay, well, there's one of like two or three things happening here. One is your financials are not accurate, and you're
Right.
not that profitable, right? The second is, you're effectively a manufacturer. It was actually a brewery, and
Right. So your
I'm saying,
cash
okay,
is in
well, yeah, your
inventory.
inventory is cash on the shelf, right? So your
Right.
cash is in these vats, um, right there. And then, the last point is, what are your terms? How are you collecting? So really understanding the flow through of cash, when it comes in, when it
Right.
goes out, and then being able to project that out into the future, at
Yeah.
least 3 months,
Yeah.
and then look at that from a weekly basis. That at a minimum, if you can do that, it gives you a better sense of being able to sleep at night. You know that
Right.
you're positioned effectively to make payroll.
Yeah.
You have some triggers that, hey, if this payment doesn't come in on Monday like it should, and it comes in on Friday, I can move these payments out. And so those types of things are, if you have that visibility in cash and future cash flows, can really make a big difference to
Yeah.
help you manage your business better.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Now, would you say that most businesses in the first 5 years are almost on like a paycheck to paycheck kind of structure?
Yeah, I would say it depends, right?
Right.
I mean, some businesses are capitalized and they got, big funding behind them and so on.
Right. Right. I mean, the ones that are
Others,
doing it themselves.
oh yeah, if you're bootstrapping, I mean
Yeah.
that's how it is, right? I mean, before I became a partner at Citrin Cooperman, I actually started another company, and we were acquired by Citrin Cooperman. And when I started, it was just me, and it was me and a computer, and
Right.
it was like, all right, let's go make it happen, right? And so you start bringing in clients. Same thing you were just saying. You start bringing
Yeah.
in clients, and then you ultimately, bring in some contractors, and you start hiring employees,
Yeah.
and I was paying myself a very nominal amount just to kind of help keep things going,
Right.
but not very much, right? And it was, hey, fortunately with my background, I was able to manage the business financially pretty well and make sure that we were always supported.
Right.
But as we grew, we changed some things around as far as how we collected cash. I mean, when I first started, it was, you do work for a month, you send an invoice after the month.
Right.
Um, it's like got 30-day terms, and
Yeah.
so
The
you're
net
waiting
30.
30 to 60 days before you get
Yeah.
paid. In the
Yeah.
meanwhile, I got to pay employees, I got to pay contractors, I got to pay these other individuals, make these other expenses. So we actually changed our policies around taking a deposit up front in some cases.
There you go.
We changed our invoicing policy to invoice twice a month instead of
Yep.
once a month. And then we started a process of where we cut the terms down and we structured in a manner in which we could process payments via ACH or in credit card in some cases. So we really were able to accelerate our cash flow as
Yeah.
a result of a lot of those things.
Like Grant Cardone's hats say, cash flow is king. Cash
Yeah,
flow is king. Cash flow is everything, right? Like you can't scale without cash flow. You can't operate without
right.
cash flow. I mean, cash flow is the number one most important thing, right? So once a business gets their cash flow under control, they're starting to see some profit. They go from bookkeeper to CPA. Explain the difference, or maybe they have both.
Mhm.
Explain the difference, because I still think most business owners are not. The fact is, most people start a business because they weren't smart enough for school or couldn't afford school, or they were really good at something, right? But like
Yeah,
most business owners don't have a high education, especially of business, right? Like most business owners didn't go to business school. So
yep,
explain the difference between a CPA and a bookkeeper. What
yeah,
are the big differences, and what more are you getting out of a CPA versus a bookkeeper? And do
yeah.
you need both?
Yeah, and I think that's where, the term CPA can be somewhat confusing in cases because for example, a CPA might be your tax advisor, and your tax advisor isn't necessarily the best person to be managing the books of your business either, right? Their
Right.
specialty is in
Their
tax,
specialty is
and
tax.
they
Yep.
will help you for tax strategy, help you
Yep.
file your tax returns, etc. Then you have somebody on the internal accounting side of things. You may have a controller or a CFO. They also may have their CPA, but they may
Right.
not have a background in tax, like me, for
Right.
example. I think I was telling you before, I can speak to tax because I've been around it and I know, and I've actually, had to actually prepare tax returns and stuff, but that's not
Right.
my expertise. I'll go to
Right.
someone on our tax team if there's a lot more complexity involved to help
Right.
support some questions. And so I look at it as, when do you shift from a bookkeeper to a more sophisticated level of maybe a controller or a
Right.
CFO or a combination, and how does that all work? And the reality is, you know, one is it's really when you realize one, um, I need I'm not getting my numbers timely or accurately. They're not
Right.
in a position for me to make decisions. I'm not
Right.
able to break down my financial information. If I sell a product or multiple products, do I have clarity on what the margins are by product line?
Right.
Really break it down so I can say, okay, if my margin's 48%, how do I make it 49 or 50? Then
Right.
I'm improving my business. And
Yeah.
so those types of things and they also start, what I mentioned before is a bookkeeper is not going to really have a lot of experience helping you to get some level of bank financing or some alternative financing like you might
Yeah.
be providing, or speak to investors or boards, or provide financial information to third parties. And
Right.
so that's where, when it becomes more level of sophistication, that's where
Yeah.
we can come
When you
in and
need
say,
more out of it, yeah.
exactly, yeah. We
Yeah.
can help you establish better processes, make sure you can close the books every month, and then really build out a good reporting package so you
Right.
can make better decisions.
Now you said something interesting about accurate reporting, accurate financials. Now, as you know, most business owners, especially in the beginning, you're just trusting your bookkeeper, right? You're
Hmm.
just trusting that they know what they're doing, that they're doing it right. How do you verify that without? I mean, or is there no way to really, how do you verify that without having to hire a
Yeah,
CPA, or is that how you do
yeah.
hire?
Well, that's where,
Is it
yeah, I
best to
mean,
just hire a fractional CFO for, hey, a one time payment to just take a look at
mhm.
our financials and make sure they're accurate, or what
That's
would you
tough
say?
for smaller companies that are, like you said, bootstrapping and don't
Yeah.
have a lot of um, don't have a lot of additional, cash to pay a higher level individual.
Right.
Um, I would say, well, one, if you give full control to a bookkeeper, that's where we've seen a lot of fraud, where they have the ability if the bookkeeper is processing payroll, they're cutting checks, they can even sign checks, they can, they have access to the bank accounts. I mean, that's ripe for where we see fraud.
Yeah.
And what I always tell business owners is, you may not be an expert in finance or accounting. You may not be an expert in sales or marketing. You may not be an expert in HR. But as a business owner, you need to know, you need to understand and learn and educate yourself in those areas.
Right.
Um, you don't have to be the expert. You should hire the expert, but you need
Yeah.
to have enough knowledge to be able to read financial statements, to be able
Right.
to ask the right questions so that you have an understanding, hey, is this right? Is this not? Um, those types of things it's that
Yeah.
self-education that I find is critical. And the
Yeah.
businesses that succeed and that grow and that exit are usually those business owners that have done that, and they really have learned to read financials. They really understand the sales and marketing process, and they don't
Right.
just say, "Hey, I'm going to hire a salesperson," and they're just going to go, you know, sell stuff, and I'm going to make a ton of money. That usually
Right.
9 times out of 10, that doesn't work, right? Because
Yeah.
that salesperson is going to go off, and they're going to do whatever, who knows what, and they're going to fail because they don't have the right oversight and structure to be successful.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. So, structuring everything out, making sure you have the right people in the right place to keep things organized sounds like is extremely important. So, um, financials, right? Accurate financials are important for a couple reasons in my eyes. It's for funding purposes, right? They need to be accurate for selling the company, right? The true
Mhm.
value. What is this company worth? The financials have to be accurate.
Yep.
And then you've also got taxes, right? Like if you're messing around with the wrong financials and you get audited, and it could be quite a problem.
Yep.
In the movies, people go to jail for tax evasion. What is tax? Is tax evasion just like you knew you had to pay taxes, you just didn't do it at all, or like like
Sometimes.
what
Yeah.
are the reason why people go to jail with taxes? Is it lying on the tax return? Is it wrong financials? Like what's the real
Yeah.
the real of that?
Yeah, a little bit of both. I think that, maybe they're taking credits that they shouldn't have, or that they don't really have or shouldn't be taking.
Right.
I
Like
think,
what's going on in Minnesota right now.
yeah, yeah, there's a lot of fun. So yeah, I
Right.
haven't even dove into all that, but
Don't.
yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. And that's probably another show even.
Yeah.
But so it's a combination of a lot of things that you said. Another big negative is I've seen is if you don't have a good understanding of financials, they may be wrong, and they may be showing that you're making a much more larger profit than you
Right.
are,
Then you
and now you're
actually are.
paying more taxes than you should be
Right.
paying, right? So
Right.
it's also another downside of having incorrect
Yeah.
financials or financials you can't trust.
Right.
But I think not filing, obviously is a big red flag.
Yep.
And not only do you have to then pay, but then you have to pay interest, and the penalties on not filing is can be significant in a lot of areas.
Yeah.
Trying to, where I've seen, just some creative things that don't really, that might be pitched to a business owner that are kind of in the gray area, and you dig deeper and it's not really, legit.
Oh damn.
Like maybe somebody told you it was. Those are always ripe for being audited. In
Right.
most cases, if you're doing it, in most cases it's going to be a penalty, plus you're going to have to repay tax plus interest. It's going to be
Right.
significant cost from a monetary perspective. But downright, flat out lying on the numbers, or taking, flat out fraud, I mean, could
Right.
potentially put you in jail.
Right. Like money laundering or just fraud in
Exactly.
general.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. No, definitely. So, making simple mistakes or hiring the wrong bookkeeper uh that didn't have accurate financials, that's not going to land you in jail.
Mhm. No, that's
Correct?
usually going to I mean, it's going to be a big pain in the future
Right, it's gonna be a
when,
problem. It could
yeah,
cost you
yeah,
some money, but like,
yeah.
you're not gonna end up in jail over it. I think
Yeah.
it was funny. Well, not really funny, but it's
I mean,
kind of sad. I was,
unless it's just gross incompetence, right? Like
yeah.
you
Yeah,
hired
like
a
come on,
bookkeeper
dude.
that
Like,
has no
yeah,
experience,
yeah, exactly. Like you met her at
bookkeeping,
this.
right?
You met her. She
Right.
was stripping at the strip club.
Yeah.
She didn't even graduate high school, and you got her managing your books. Like,
Right.
what are you thinking? Yeah, totally get that. But so it's the reason why I ask these questions is I met a guy the other day, and he said the reason why he hasn't started this business is because he's trying to learn everything about accounting because he doesn't want someone to manage his books. He wants to be able to manage his own books because he doesn't want to
Mhm.
end up in prison because of somebody else. And I'm like, I don't think
Yeah.
that's how it works, but yeah, man, people are really nervous about that, right? And so,
Mhm.
it's yeah, it was sad to hear that he hadn't started his business because he wants to be his own bookkeeper because
Yeah.
he's
Well, I
afraid he
mean,
can't trust
also,
anybody.
yeah, I mean, usually if you hire a respectable CPA firm or tax advisor, they're not going to file your tax return unless they have
No,
some level of confidence in the information you're giving them.
right.
And so, they'll do some quick checks. They're not going to audit the numbers, but they'll do some quick checks to make sure that the information reconciles or it ties out or things balance. So that's an extra check. It's
Yeah.
not going to mean that it's all accurate because the tax advisor honestly is their job isn't to make sure you have accurate financials. They need to cover their own back in a way and make sure that, hey, what you've given me, yes, it looks like it makes sense, but they're
Right.
not auditing the books. And
Right.
so, ultimately it's the responsibility of the company to have,
Yeah.
quality books.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, um, with do you guys always recommend that someone completely separate or a separate company is doing the taxes versus um the bookkeeping and
Mhm.
financials? Because
Yeah, I
I
do
hear a
because
lot of
it's a
people
different.
using the same person, like the
Yeah.
same person does their books and files their taxes. But
Yeah, it's
I was
usually a
always
different
told it
skill
should
set.
be two different
Yeah, it's usually
people.
a different skill set. Now, some
Right.
some tax advisors might have kind of a bookkeeping team as well that
Right.
maybe
Yeah, that's
supports.
what I mean. I don't know. I don't know if it's
Yeah,
always the same person, but the same,
yeah,
company. I was always told to
yeah,
keep them separate, but
yeah. It can be the same as long as they have a process to provide or perform the right services. If
right.
you're just giving if you're not doing the books and you're just handing over, a shoebox to your tax advisor every year and expecting them to kind of
Right.
pull it all together, you have that's false reliance that you're actually
Right.
going to feel like you have good controls in place.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So what you mentioned AI and automation. We've been running AI in our company for about 5 years now. Well, almost 6 years since right before COVID, we started implementing AI into our company, and now we're actually building systems for companies, small to large companies. What
Hmm.
AI and technology are you guys implementing within your CPA firm, and what plans do you guys have for AI for the future?
Yeah, I think what it really does on the tax side, especially, it really helps to ensure that we're providing higher value to our clients you know, at the same cost point, right? Like whereas
Right.
before all of that cost was around, hey, just blocking and tackling. Now we can say, hey, now we have more insight.
Right.
We can leverage, you know, information and data more quickly. We
Yeah.
can populate the returns more quickly based on the information that's provided to us. I mean, I say I mean, a lot of that can be automated.
Right.
And it really frees us up to say, hey, now we actually now understand your business so much better because of the information that's been uh,
Right.
based on the information that we've provided. The agents, the AI agents, or whoever they might, whatever might be in the
Right.
background,
The custom
is giving us
GPTs or whatever that
yeah,
you
it's giving
made.
us
Yeah.
suggestions, giving us thoughts, giving us
Right.
different scenarios that say, hey, has your
Right.
client considered this or has your client
Right.
considered that? And
Yeah.
that's where the true value is, which is,
100%.
the people side of things of what we do isn't going to go away, but
Right.
it gives us a lot more information to have
Right.
that
To be able to
conversation with our
provide a
clients.
better service to your
Absolutely. Yeah.
clients.
Where we can
Yeah.
say, hey, we can really focus our time on spending time with you as a client
Yeah.
instead of just dropping the numbers in the tax return, it's okay, now you're getting a lot more out of what we can do on the tax side
Right.
versus just here's your tax return, go file it, right?
Yeah.
Pay
Yeah.
your tax, right? On the
Yeah.
accounting side and what I'm involved with, which is the outsourced accounting, a lot of it is how AI is leveraged within the tools that we're using. So like Intuit, like QuickBooks
Right.
is developing, is spending a lot of money and making a large investment in, the AI infrastructure within QuickBooks.
Okay.
Same thing with NetSuite, other ERPs. That's where all of their investment is going to help
Awesome.
to automate the data entry, the monthly close process.
Right.
And then we also use third-party tools um, for reporting that that interfaces with QuickBooks so that we can
Okay.
produce, very quickly good financial information that clients want to see that looks nice, it's professional, has the right
Right.
metrics, has KPIs, all that fun stuff. So there's a lot of things that we can do that make us a lot better,
Yeah.
in which we can rely on, um, the automation side of things versus maybe a first year staff employee.
Right. That's why I keep trying to explain it to you is AI doesn't replace employees. It makes your current employees way more effective.
Yeah,
You know what I
absolutely.
mean? Like you can't just get an AI system and get rid of a bunch of employees. It just literally adds more value to your clients because it makes your employees better and
Yep.
faster at their job. It's just
Yeah.
it just makes them be able to do more in a
Right.
day than they were able to do without it.
Right. And whereas before a client would say, "Hey, have you heard of this tax situation? I have this situation."
Yeah.
And the person would have to go
Go
and,
through books
go
or
through the tax
whatever.
code. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
15, 20 years ago, they'd pull
Yeah.
out their book and they'd go
Yeah.
through it and flip through and they try to interpret it.
Now
Now,
it's boom boom boom. Here it
exactly.
is.
And now we have the processes in place internally
Yeah.
where, where we can, provide quick, talking points and information very quickly.
Yeah, yeah, it's incredible, man. Awesome. So for our guests and our viewers, our listeners, what do you have that you can give them to help them within their companies or when they start their company?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the value of cash flow as for a big part of this, and I think
Yeah,
we have a couple of different tools that I'd be happy to provide to the listeners, as it relates to, cash flow forecasting,
awesome.
just simple Excel tools that kind of maps it out and can be leveraged. It's a easy start to say, hey, okay, I can't run this business in my head anymore. Like,
Right,
let me just map this out so I can look forward in the business.
right.
And, happy to share or provide any information like that.
Awesome, awesome, man. And so how do we reach you? How do we get that stuff from you?
Yeah, I mean, easy way is LinkedIn's easy. It's Jason Kruger. That's Kruger.
Awesome.
And I'm at Citrin Cooperman, so I'm a partner there. You can also, I'm happy to, if anyone wants to email me, it's the letter J Kruger, so JKRUGER at citrincooperman.com.
Perfect.
Citrin
I'll
is
put
starts with a
those
C. Yeah.
I'll put those links in the description. That way they can just
Okay.
click on them and email you
Yeah.
or go to your
Citrin starts
LinkedIn.
with a C, so Citrin with a C,
Yep.
Cooperman. But yeah, I just like talking to business owners, and if anyone wants to reach out, I can usually provide some nugget of thought and based on my experience.
Right.
Or if I don't know the person, if I don't know the answer, I can probably bring somebody that does have information, is able to help them,
Right.
or shoot them back to you if they're looking for financing.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we work the same way. We tell our clients, look, if I can't help you, I'll be able to connect you with the person that can.
Yep.
Right.
Right.
Awesome, man. I love what you guys are doing. Thanks for all the insight and information. Hopefully our viewers and listeners found it helpful. I know I did. So I'll make sure to put those links below. That way people can reach out to you. And I'm going to email you when we get done here to get that cash flow thing going. Because we're at a point in our business where I have no idea what's going on anymore.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's a good problem to have.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, it's
Appreciate your
all
time,
good
Jason.
problems. Yeah, thanks so much, Shaheen.
Absolutely, brother.